Hey everyone, exciting news today. Mark Spagnuolo and I are launching a new tool. It's called Wood Whisper Thread Taps. Now these are thread taps meant to be used with a drill to cut threads into wood. Now if you check out this video by Mark, he'll tell you all about why this technique is really useful and why our tool is better suited to it than anything else on the market. But in this video, I'm going to answer the question, how strong are threads cut into wood? Now, to test how strong something is, you really kind of have to get it to break and measure the point at which it breaks. And I happen to know that wood threads are quite strong, so getting them to fail and fail in a way that I can measure is kind of tricky. So to do this, I'm going to start with a really thin piece of wood. It's actually a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch. And that means there won't be very many threads, which means that the force I need to get them to fail won't be as high. So I clamp it up and use the new thread taps chucked up in my drill to cut threads into this little blank. Just a couple threads. And this is cherry, by the way. Now I need to find out the force necessary to get it to fail, and for that I'm using this press. So it's got a hole drilled that allows this threaded rod to just kind of travel freely. So I thread it into the blank and then slip a scale underneath. So when I turn the rod, all of the force is going to be pressing down on the scale through the threads in the blank. So I can thread the rod in and see where the threads fail and have a measurement of the force at the point it failed. So I just want to make sure it's clear what's happening here. The wood blank is stationary and the threaded rod is being threaded through the wooden blank until it finally touches the scale. Now at this point there's a force on the scale, but there's an equal force on the threads of the wood blank because that's the only thing that's keeping the rod from traveling upward. So the reading on the scale, the force on the scale, is the same as the force on the threads. So as I crank this up and wait for the point that the threads fail and look at the reading on the scale, the highest point that it gets to, that's the highest force that those threads can take before they break. Feels like it's crunching a little bit at 75 pounds. 75 pounds. The threads in that little blank took 75 pounds of force to fail. So let's scale that up. To do that I get an exact measurement of the thickness, and some quick math tells me that if those threads had been 1 inch deep, it would have actually taken 667 pounds to get them to fail. So considering a real project application, the plate in the front of this vise is held by 4 threaded bolts, each of them 1.5 inches deep. And if you use that same thread strength and calculate the force that that plate could take, ends up being 2 tons. That plate could literally lift a full-size automobile. Now strength is of course species dependent, so let's try this on pine. I have a blank the same size, I load it up into the press the same exact way. And again, thread the rod in until those threads in the pine fail. So the pine made it to 65. That's better than I thought it'd do. So let's try purple heart, which is a dense hardwood. See how this performs. 185 pounds. Very impressive. So this really has a lot of strength with hardwoods. Well, thanks for joining everyone. I hope you found this interesting. If you want to support this tool, take a look at the pre-sale. The link's in the description. Also, link in the description for Mark's video that gives more of an explanation of the value, some use cases, why the tool's better than taps made for metalworking. So check that out and expect some more projects and use cases and examples and further detail from us in the near future on this one. Thanks, everyone.